What's up guys, I'm J-Man, and let's talk about the greatest love story ever told. Disney's animated classic, Beauty and the Beast. The film received a bunch of recognition, including a Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture, 2 Oscars for Best Score and Original Song, and was even nominated for Best Picture, something even to this day is unheard of for an animated film. It tells the timeless story of falling in love with the unexpected, seeing the good in yourself you didn't know you had, and the value of putting others before yourself. Now, we've all heard a lot about this movie, but there's actually some stuff that many may not have realized about the story and characters. So let's take a closer look. This is... First of all, the title is not just meant to be taken literally, with Belle being beauty and the Beast being the Beast. It's actually meant to be 2 halves of the same person. The true moral of the story is real beauty is found within. Or to put it another way, your true self is found within. Look at both the protagonist and the antagonist of the story, the Beast and Gaston. The Beast is a monster who is actually a beautiful person that he discovers for himself, whereas Gaston is handsome on the outside but is really a cruel, vicious person deep down. Literally, these 2 characters mirror each other on a narrative level, with one becoming the true monster he is and the other realizing how good he really is. At the beginning, the villagers always try to make out that just because someone's beautiful that they are a good person.
She's the one! The lucky girl I'm going to marry.
But she's...
the most beautiful girl in town.
I know, Belle!
That makes her the best.
This is because the town that Belle lives in represents the superficial world where everyone wears a disguise, as it were. Whereas in the castle, the staff are made out to be something that represents their true form. Lumiere is a candlestick because he's always glowing with love and friendliness. Cogsworth is a clock because he's always so persnickety and about to go off at any moment, etc. Belle is really the best of both worlds. She's beautiful on the outside and inside, and she helps to bring out people's true selves. If she acted as if she were happy with her life, she would probably be better accepted by the townspeople, but instead she displays her true self by being unsatisfied with it, so she's considered such a funny girl. Because they know she could fit in, and they want her to fit in, but she chooses not to. When she's with the Beast, she teaches him the meaning of being selfless, what type of person you are by doing something for someone else. After saving her life, he becomes enamored by her that he wants to do her another favor, so he gives her the library. Maybe in a way you could say that Belle and Gaston represent 2 halves of the Beast. Belle is his heart and Gaston is his selfishness. By the end, he literally battles his own selfishness and then holds his own heart in his hand. The lesson being that we are all Beauty and the Beast. If we think of ourselves first, then we're probably the Beast. But if we treat others with love and compassion, then we're probably beautiful on the inside. The rose is all sorts of things in this story. Not only is it the ticking clock for the Beast to earn a woman's love and return to normal, but it could also represent the Beast's beautiful side as well. The Beast is a very tortured character. Not only is he cruel, but he's also very hard on himself. Think of his entire castle as the embodiment of the Beast himself, including the enchanted objects. Lumiere represents any suaveness he may have, Cogsworth his good manners, Mrs. Potts his security, and Chip his innocence, etc. The demonic statues around the castle were actually early versions of the Beast. They obviously represent his beastliness. When Belle enters into the West Wing, you could actually say that she's entering into his mind, where everything is destroyed and wrecked. But the rose is the one thing that remains untouched, the one thing that remains pure. When she uncovers it and tries to touch it, you could say that it's his heart trying to connect with his purity. Then the Beast shows up and covers it back up. This is literally him covering up any goodness he has and still clinging to his monstrous beastly self. On the extended edition, when he's bathing, his room has been all cleaned, which is a visual representation of how his conscience is becoming less tortured because of Belle. And then when she leaves, he becomes a wreck again and messes it back up. People have kind of made the complaint that him transforming back into the prince at the end is kind of a cop-out because It's like the movie is going back on saying beauty is found within. Well, not at all actually, because the truth is, it illustrates the entire point of the movie. As I said, the rose represents the beast's beautiful side. And by the end, when he transforms back into the prince, you could actually say that he has now become the rose. One way you can tell is that whenever we see the rose, it's always glowing, and when he's the prince again, we see a glowing light shining on him. He has now become one with his purity and has now earned his soul, as it were. Mirrors play an interesting part in the movie as well. The magic mirror is usually the first thing that people think of because it's the beast's only window to the outside world. What's interesting about it though is that his mirror shows him views of others, whereas with Gaston, his polar opposite, he looks into a mirror to see himself. But that's not all though. You know that shot of Belle walking by the broken mirror? Well, the meaning behind that is actually more based on superstition. According to Roman myth, whenever someone looks into a mirror who is either hideous or in bad health, then the mirror would break, causing 7 years of bad luck. After those 7 years were up, the face and body would be rejuvenated and the curse of bad luck would end completely. Now, I know that in the film they actually say 10 years and that it would bloom until his 21st year, but I kind of have an inkling that that was actually the intention with showing the cracked mirror, since we literally see 7 shards of broken glass that reflect Belle. It's kind of clever foreshadowing since she is essentially his cure for ending his bad luck, as it were. So we all know that the Disney movies of today basically try to subvert typical Disney tropes, particularly with Disney princess stories. But did you know that Beauty and the Beast was actually one of the first ones ever to try to break Disney tropes? At the beginning, Gaston is seen as the hero of the town who is usually expected to get the girl and defeat the evil monster. The Beast is the character who starts out as the bad guy, and the whole thing kind of flips the typical story on its head. Howard Ashman, the lyricist on the movie as well as executive producer for the story, was practically famous for defying, or rather parodying, conventional storytelling tropes with his other works like Little Shop of Horrors, and in some ways, The Little Mermaid. The stories he's involved in usually consist of a very cynical view of humanity, with them easily believing whatever they're told or being influenced by the wrong things. In Little Shop, humanity is seen as predictable, which is why Audrey 2 knew that he would basically become famous overnight, and originally ended with humanity seeing its own end. Little Mermaid was about the idea of humans all being heartless savages, but instead has a more optimistic ending with the revelation that prejudice is unreasonable. With Beauty and the Beast, Ashman conveyed in the story the idea of learning to love someone as opposed to love at first sight, loving the bad guy instead of the obvious hero. And over the years, other films have still tried to replicate that same type of story in their own way. So I guess you could say that a lot of the works of today, as well as us that grew up with it, owe a lot to this movie for teaching us where real beauty lies, and that the person you fall in love with can be totally unexpected, even if that person is also yourself. So that was my take on Beauty and the Beast. Now tell me, what do you think has a deeper meaning? Whatever it is, don't be shy, leave a reply. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and please support me on Patreon. All links are down below. If you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. Keep looking deep.